Great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rural Caucus on a nice sunny day. We are joined this morning by a couple of folks from the Harry Hughes Center for Agroecology. They have a short presentation for us that I'm very much looking forward to. And I believe that Nancy Nunn is going to start us off. So the floor
Good
is
morning.
yours.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. Josh, can you share the screen? Thank you. So just to provide you with some background information about the Hughes Center for Agroecology. I know some of you are familiar. We're joined today by Lindsay Thompson, I see is on this call, and she's a board member. And so we were founded in 1999 by the late Governor Hughes, along with our former director, the late Dr. Russ Brinsfield, and some what I call visionaries. And we were really founded around the idea that it's better to bring diverse viewpoints to a table to talk through and come up with a solution to address the issues that impact both ag and the environment in our community. And we've been doing that ever since the founding of the organization. Part of the way we do that is through a diverse board, and we have members of the agricultural community, both from the organic and the conventional ag. We have members from organizations, nonprofits, including environmental and ag organizations. We're fortunate enough to have two of your colleagues, Senator Jason Gallion, and it's great that he's a farmer, as well as Delegate Regina Boyce, and they both have been really instrumental in helping us. And then we also have the Dean of the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Our mission's to provide leadership, and we want to be able to provide that opportunity for diverse voices to get to a table together and talk. And we are looking at what are the scientific approaches, what outreach needs to be done, and how can we collaborate to do that? Because our ultimate goal is to ensure that agriculture and forestry remain both environmentally but also economically viable in Maryland. So as I said, we do that through our scientific research, looking at policies, as well as our outreach and education efforts. So Josh, next, please. And these are just some of the examples of the work we do. Each year we fund we fund an RFP process so that we can identify what the most important issues are and that need to be addressed where research isn't being done at the moment. And we'll go through an RFP process and then award monies for research. We do that not just for what we think needs to be addressed, but we also talk to the state's various secretaries of the departments, as well as a large group of stakeholders. And some of the organizations represented, Farm Bureau, the Rural Maryland Council, participate in those conversations. And then again, as I said, we look at policy, analyze it, and we also do a lot of outreach efforts. So the real reason we wanted to talk to you today is what we call Maryland Climate Smart Ag, the Roadmap to Resilience. Back in 2021, the state legislature asked the Hughes Center to look at an approach at how we could help ag adapt to the changing climate and the changing weather that we're seeing in Maryland and what needed to be done. We were not going to do the work. We were going to provide a roadmap for that. And last month, we released that roadmap. And it really does provide both science-based recommendations, policy recommendations, and also some general ideas of how that could be implemented in the state. So the one thing I will say, our recommendations came about with the process. We really felt that it was important to operate from the ground up. And so from the very beginning of this project, we reached out to the farming community in your communities to find out what they were seeing and what they needed to be successful as they adapted. At the same time, we also issued an RFP for a research team that would be very diverse and would be able to look at all the different areas, whether it be pest or infrastructure or modeling that was needed, so that they could also provide information on what they were seeing, what they were studying, but what also needed to be looked at. Josh, next. So, what is climate smart ag? Um, Big term, fancy term. What it really means is we want to see our farmers be successful in producing more high quality food, feed, and farmer without putting additional strain on our natural resources. Sort of a common sense approach. We want to increase our farmers' ability, our agriculture sector's ability to be resilient in the face of the changes that we're seeing. And then third, to reduce carbon emissions, or not carbon, excuse me, gas emissions and increase carbon sequestration. And these were sort of the founding pillars of our work that we worked on. Let's go ahead, please. And I should stop myself where I'm saying this is the process that we worked on. We want you all to recognize we work with the farming community every day, the ag community, and we are very cognizant of how much work Maryland farmers put in to make sure that they are being good stewards of the environment. I always say to people, unlike many of us, they do not get salaries. That farm is their livelihood, it's their retirement, it's their legacy. And we are very cognizant of that fact and proud of the work that Maryland farmers have done to date. So in addition to the research team and the Hughes Center, we had a very, very diverse project leadership team. We had members, and it will show on the next page, but there were members from a number of the state agencies, agriculture groups, farmers, other nonprofits, very, very diverse. And their job through this whole process was to garner the information that we heard and sift through it, both from the research committee as well as the farmers themselves, to what can we do with all of this information? And there was a lot to digest. We had listening sessions throughout the state. We actually hired a staff member, and all she did for really, and I think Josh would agree, probably close to 9 months, was travel the state to talk with stakeholders and learn what they were saying. So, what did our farmers tell us? What did our producers tell us? They were seeing a lot of what we call drought and dump. We had people say, in fact, we had a farmer say to us recently, I've had droughts in fields in Southern Maryland that I've never had droughts before. I just couldn't grow this crop. Of course, mid-Atlantic sea level rise, farmers down on the lower shore, some of them are seeing they're losing cropland, or they're trying to figure out what they can grow on it that can adapt to the salt water. Our impacts are increasing from the major weather events, pests that we haven't seen before, diseases that we haven't seen before in our crops, heat stress, and just general loss of ag land. And some of that is from the competing factors, some of that is from weather related. So then we didn't want to just ask them, what do you see? Thank you, what did you see? But what do you need to deal with this? And one of the first comments was, we need the best strategies we can to adapt to it, but to also stay profitable. We need financial support. We need education on what is out there. we need to be able to we need to be able to navigate the different regulations. We need new crop sources. Um, what can I do to switch to maybe make this more adaptable but also sustainable? And planning. Josh, next, please. So, as I said, the committee came together, the project leadership team. We originally had 130 some recommendations. And as anybody knows, that's just not going to work. And we literally worked for many months to get them down to 13 regular recommendations to the group. But throughout those recommendations, the two capstones that we wanted to abide by were the fact that we would stick with the three pillars of climate smart ag. And we constantly heard ag would like a seat at the table from the beginning, regarding regulations and their needs rather than during the process. So integrating ag into all of the priorities and thinking about what do they need when we're looking at this particular regulation or policy. Next, please. So here are some of the other recommendations. Again, adopting climate smart ag and agroforestry statewide, evaluating and supporting adaptive management practices, integrating ag into every sort of state planning. As a response, building an early warning system, creating a one-stop shop. And Josh, do you want to talk about the one-stop shop?
Sure, I can do that. So there's, like Nancy said, there's a landscape of regulations and programs available all across a variety of agencies and nonprofits and what have you. But it all should be funneled under one organization or area, so that a farmer can, they've been working all day. They don't want to sit on a computer for hours at night and look up the best program for them. They should be able to reach out to somebody, get the information they need, and move forwards. One good thing about these recommendations too, I wanted to mention is, as Nancy said, there are several state agencies directly involved with these, and the Department of Agriculture has really taken to these recommendations, and is interested in being the lead on many, if not all of them, and they express that time and time again during our meetings. So over this next, I guess, interim between this and the next session, I would say the Hughes Center is going to be working with them to hopefully lead these recommendations, but also, the delegate and senator member of our board, we want to work with them to bring any of these policies forward to you too. So something like create a one-stop shop could be something that could be identified in the future. It's just a matter identified to work on in the future for the next session, right? But it's just a matter of figuring out the best policy or regulatory way of improving the situation. Some other recommendations, this requires investment. Unfortunately, it's a harsh budget time, but there is research needed. There's gaps in the research that farmers and academics need to evaluate current situations so that they can best adapt to it. Right, we need finer scale modeling, and that means localized data, and that means more places to collect that data. That means more money to spend on that. So that's just a matter of the situation. So it's prioritizing investing in academic, unbiased scientific research. You have to strengthen monitoring, and along with that, it goes with the climate smart approach. We have to continually evaluate these conservation programs for their efficacy as climate continues to change. And the same thing with infrastructure adaptations. Will there need to be more cold storage? Will there need to be, will the supply chain need to shift in some way, transportation wise, right? And then this is more of a policy from a more of a policy standpoint, but conserve agricultural land for agricultural uses. It's agricultural land is a finite resource, so strategizing that conservation is one of our recommendations. That includes funding for conservation programs, and then strengthen farmer insurance. That may not be. It could be something the state could do, but for instance, farmers are going to need new crop varieties, and that may not be supported by current type insurance. So it's looking at those sorts of programs and seeing where state policy could help farmers adapt to that. Nancy, do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, I think you hit all the highlights. I think the big thing, like Josh said, we recognize that some of this work will need monetary investment, but there has been a lot of interest also from organizations, the higher education institutions, and nonprofits in helping to conduct and find funding for this research. I think the big overarching is it's going to have to be a collaborative effort on everyone's part to ensure that we can reach these goals. And that's sort of what this one slide indicates, who's going to do this work. There's no one party, but as Josh said, the Department of Ag is really interested in this project. They've been a constant leader with us and with the University of Maryland. And, we have every intention of continuing our work with them on this project. Unlike reports, we want this project to continue to move forward so that we can see the work that needs to be done to make our farmers most sustainable occur.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the information. Thank you for the slide, and I hope you'll stay in touch and let us know about any interesting developments you come up with, where you go from here. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the time.
Absolutely. So now we're going to turn to the bills that have been submitted to the Rural Caucus for our consideration. And I want to turn it over to my co-chair, Delegate Grist.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Ziegler. I think what we should probably do is revisit the bills that we held from this past Thursday first, so that way we can put those behind us one way or another. And we might need the help of some of our folks on the call here. So the first one is House Bill 395. So this is the CAFO bill, which I'm very excited about. And this is a priority for all three of our guests. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about this or not, or that we can just maybe even just vote on it just to move it forward. But this is an important piece of legislation for our poultry industry. And so I don't know if those guys wanted to make any comments on
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I think most of you on the call realize the urgency of this legislation, and the unfortunate events that led to it. I'm not so excited about the bill, except for the fact, I wish we didn't need it, but we really, really do. And I think it would be best if I just, answered any questions that anyone has about the legislation. I can give the background, Delegate, if you want that. I don't know how up to date
you can just give
everybody
us like
on
the
the call
30-second
is.
background that basically says you can't build chicken houses and because of legislation and
Right. So the general permit that covers pretty much all poultry farming in the state expired in July of 25. And as such, there can be no builds right now within the state. We found coverage for people who currently own chicken farms, but those wanting to build, new operations are unable to do so due to a couple lines in the law, which we are trying to strike, while also providing the assurances to the surrounding communities and the environmental communities that this is only for a situation where the general permit expires. So my letter goes pretty in depth on the issue. I would refer people to that just because it's not a very intuitive subject. It's a lot of complicated permitting talk, but that's the gist.
Are we ready? I think we're ready to vote on this, guys. I don't know. Does anyone feel like they have any questions, or is anyone opposed to this bill?
Move favorable
So-
on the bill.
I'll second.
Okay. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we have unanimous vote on that. It looks like we have everyone on the call to this week as well. So, all right. So moving on to House Bill 429, we might need some help from Tyler on this one. So this is on-farm organics, wasted food reduction, and it's a grant program that encourages composting and waste. This is a delegate voice bill. I don't know if it's something that the Farm Bureau has or
Yep,
Del yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is something Farm Bureau's supported for the past couple of years. It's actually going to get heard in the Senate here today, but it creates a grant program for on-farm waste to help utilize and help put that out as another utility and another option. It also, the original program or the past couple of years, the bill had a piece in it that put a tipping fee on. I believe that was removed this year, but it is a bill that Farm Bureau has been supporting the past couple of years.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, does anyone have any questions or any concerns about this? Okay, is there a motion to support this one?
I move favorable on the bill.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nice, we have unanimous support on that one. House Bill 632. Now this one, I think, there was some questions. Steve Johnson, Delegate Johnson had some concerns about this.
Yes.
So this was Delegate Grammer's bill that had to do with a certificate of need. But it didn't do what I think what we had originally thought it would. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
Where
there's a more, Delegate Collison has a more in-depth defined bill on that same certificate of need. But even that one, I don't think addresses what we're looking to do in the
Okay.
rural areas.
All right, so I think we should move forward. Does anybody want to support that bill as far as the caucus support?
Yeah, so I talked to Delegate Grammer about the bill. We're looking at establishing behavioral crisis centers and mental health units in the rural areas. And what he found in Baltimore County, which also applies to areas that we represent, that there's basically a monopoly on these certificates of need. So they're very difficult to obtain. They take multi-years, and because Shepherd Pratt is the biggest player in this space, they always come to the table and say, this isn't needed. We have a central location. We'll service that population here. So, I might be the outlier here, but I support the concept of the bill. Might not be the best vehicle to get there, but this is a roadblock to mental health in the rural areas.
Yeah, I support the concept, but I also don't, we want to make sure that we have the right vehicle and legislation that we're supporting does what the intention is, I believe. Did you want to take a vote on that, Delegate Hornberger? It doesn't sound like the rest of the caucus is supportive of it, but did you still want to get?
Yeah, I'll make a favorable motion.
Is there a second?
I see Delegate Johnson's hand up.
Sure,
Maybe.
okay.
Thank you. The problem with releasing someone totally from a certificate of need is that they can also close a facility with 30-day written notice without having to go through any process. That's why I mentioned Delegate Collison's bill, because it's a certificate of need bill, but it specifies that it's only to increase beds, and there's certain guardrails on that bill that are not on this bill. This bill is a double-edged sword that we have to be careful because like I said, that also allows them to close a facility with a 30-day written notice.
Okay, is there a second? Somebody's gonna have to say, turn off your mic and say if there's a second or not. It doesn't sound like it.
Kevin had his hand up. I don't know
Delegate
if
Anderson,
it's
is that a
first question or
second?
He's on mute.
I think he just said no. Is that correct? Is that a no?
No, I was handing James something.
All
I was
right.
handing James some paperwork.
The real life challenges of the Zoom meeting. All right, thank you. All right, so moving on. House Bill 377, Delegate Johnson, this is your bill. You know, did
That
you?
one I think we need to pass on.
Okay. All
It
right.
needs too much work.
Sure. All right. Next is 186. So the reluctance we had with moving on that bill last week was it looks like House Bill 163 might be the better bill to move. And I looked at House Bill 186. It's a broad Sunday hunting bill. I've never seen a bill like this, and I think the reason why our Sunday hunting laws are different across the state is mainly because our state's so different in regards to population density, how much deer specifically. I mean, I think turkey's a little bit different, and the impact on agriculture is throughout the state. And I think that's the reason why we don't have a one size fits all Sunday hunting law in Maryland. And this House Bill 186, that's what it does. So Tyler, I didn't know if you want to weigh in on this one. I know that you guys follow these Sunday hunting bills very closely.
Yep, this is Delegate Boucher's bow hunting bill, I
Yeah,
believe.
it
Yes.
is.
Yeah. So Sunday hunting, I know there's a bigger, broader bill coming from Delegate Boyce this year as well. That's more of a large scale, kind of taking a larger push at Sunday hunting. The issue in general, as you said, is across the state, roughly $8 million of damage or more to agriculture crops. We have an overpopulation, and the Sunday hunting regulations across the state is a very large, long list in Comar that can be quite confusing to follow. I think more opportunity for Sunday hunting, especially around deer, is a great thing. But the right vehicle to do it, I don't know what it is. I know that Delegate Ziegler, Delegate Jacobs get overrun with these bills in committee every single year. So it's an issue. More Sunday hunting is something more Sunday hunting for deer. I need to be clear about that. Is something that Maryland Farm Bureau is supportive of, but I don't know what the best vehicle to do it is.
And I think this bill includes Sunday hunting on public land as well.
Yes.
Which I know the horse folks will be complete, which I fought the horse folks on Sunday hunting bills in the past. I have no problem with doing that. But they do make a strong argument on public land. Delegate Jacobs, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that. I know that this is your, I don't know, like 35th session or something like that. So you've seen some hunting.
I'm not overwhelmed by Sunday hunting law bills. Just to make that clear. I think that there's a push for certain kinds of Sunday hunting that are problematic, but to eradicate the deer that are doing far more than $8 million worth of damage is what we've tried to achieve during my time over here. But this bill, I think, is something we're going to try to roll partially into the other bill. As you know, we're kind of waiting to see how the broader bill hearing goes, and that there may be aspects of this bill that could be included in it, but
we'll trust the committee is what you're saying we should probably do with this one.
That would be my best recommendation.
Okay. Delegate Ziegler, what are your thoughts on that? This is also
Yes, I absolutely agree. My concern about that, well, I have some concerns about it, primarily that I think that it would apply to areas that may not be appropriate for hunting.
right.
That they're too close to being urban, they're suburban and really not rural.
Okay, so we'll hold. Does anyone want to make a motion on that particular bill? I don't want to. Okay, it doesn't look like
Yeah,
it.
I'd like to make a motion. Two things here. One, according to the bill sponsor who sat next to on the floor, there was no opposition to the Sunday hunting bow for deer. In fact, he claimed that Baltimore City supported the bill, which we can confirm that. I guess what I want to say is that what I'm hearing from other members of the caucus is we're not sure if the exact posture of a bill may pass or may not pass. I think there's a broader conversation to be had here of, do we support Sunday deer hunting with a bow? And I would think that the answer to that would be yes. If we leave this on the table or don't take a position, then that can be sometimes interpreted as we don't support that. The effective range of a bow is 40, 50 yards. So, and this is on private property. So I would have reservations about not moving forward on a bill that allows people on private property to bow hunt on Sundays.
This is specifically private property. I didn't catch that in reading when reading that bill.
So I would make I'd make a favorable motion just as a messaging.
So Tyler, this is on private property. Do you know? That's a
I'm
big.
double checking it now. I believe it is private property, but I'm double checking the bill right now.
Okay, that certainly changes things from my perspective.
I would just like to chime in with what I always chime in with, which
Sure.
is that if you can get yourself a free crop damage permit, which is very easy to get, you can hunt 365 days a year in every county in Maryland for deer damage.
Right, but if you've got 3, 5, 10 acres and you're not farming, then
Right. No, I understand. I understand that. I mean, actually, that's no longer entirely true. We have some very productive smaller farms in Howard County that grow things like flowers, and they certainly suffer tremendous deer damage as well. But I hear you. I just wanted to throw that out.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes, very well said. Thank you for your input there, Delegate, and I will second the motion.
Okay.
I think
All right.
Delegate Johnson has a hand up.
Delegate Johnson, did you?
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I just want to make sure I'm clear. This is specifically for bow hunting, and it's on specifically private property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what Tyler? Have you been able to confirm that?
It does not specifically say for public. It just goes along the current COMAR, and the current COMAR is private land.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor? Let's go ahead and raise your hand on this one, I think, because there's going to be a difference of.
Aye.
All right, I'll raise my hand too. So what's that? Anderson, Hornberger, Baker, Christ. Just kind of walk through here. Is Johnson?
Yep, Johnson's a yay, and Sample Hughes is a yay.
What about Andre Johnson? Is he on the call? I think I saw him on there.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm here.
Okay, which way are you on that one?
I'm a no on this.
Okay, all right. And Delegate Ziegler, are you?
I'm a
Sample-
no.
And Sample Hughes is a yes, and Ziegler's
Yes.
a no. Okay, all right. So that one moves with support. House Bill 817. Somebody's gonna have to help me with this one. I don't have. I just lost the chart I've been toggling. All right, so this is carbon removal technology. This is Delegate Foley requires MD to permit CO2 removal technologies and allow existing funds used towards CO2 removal programs for aiding climate change. And they mention it would allow rural Maryland to take steps toward fighting climate change, but it doesn't say how. And I don't know that the fiscal note, actually, there wasn't a fiscal note as of last week on that. And that was the only reason. I had a question mark on the spreadsheet because I didn't know what the cost of this would be.
Do any of our either Lindsay Thompson or Tyler, do you understand this bill? I haven't heard we haven't had the hearing yet, and I feel like I need to understand this bill better. I'm not exactly sure what it does.
Thanks, Delegate Ziegler. This is Lindsay Thompson. So the fiscal note actually did post this morning, and I took a look at it in order to try to understand the bill better.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, and in the fiscal note, it actually indicates that the bill does not define what a carbon removal technology is, but is generally used to describe a technology that physically removes CO2 from the atmosphere and or water from a point source of fossil fuel and or the industrial sector. So I don't know that this necessarily applies to agriculture, to be honest with you. So we did not take a position on this bill.
My understanding is that from Delegate Foley, whose bill it is that there is a farmer who came to her with this. And I think I would agree that we should take a pass on it, largely just because we don't understand it really. But I would like to have a conversation with him, and who knows, maybe down the road, this will be something that can take some shape for us and might turn out to be an interesting thing. But for the
Well, and
moment,
also too, if after the hearing too, and there's a lot of value oftentimes to these public hearings, is you'll have both sides weigh in on an issue, and it'd be interesting to see where the public comes in on that.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we'll pass on that. Did anyone want to move that bill? I'm sorry, I didn't want to make any assumptions here. Okay, doesn't sound like it. All right. So let's move on to our ag priority bills. So the first two, Delegate Hornberg, I don't know if you want to talk about these. I think these are a couple bills that you added to the list. House Bill 1554, it's a sales and use tax. This is a conversation that we had in our very first meeting, right before session or right after session started. And this is a bill that was brought, I think, by Delegate Sample Hughes last year. Is that correct?
She had one related to electrical charges.
Yes.
I think this is.
Yeah, Delegate Sample Hughes asked if I could usher this bill in. And basically this deals with, this has been a 3-4 year issue. And we've gone back and forth on whether it should be a study or whether it should just go into effect. It deals with sub-metering. And in many cases, there are farms that might have dual meters. So for a number of years, it was in vogue to install a meter on your home and then have another meter for your farm. And as you can imagine, at the time, that didn't really change the cost of business. However, now with these multiple accounts, these farmers are increasing additional rider fees and carrier fees and whatnot. Whereas if they would have had a single meter, they wouldn't be incurring these. So it doesn't change the amount of electricity they're consuming, but it would lower their cost. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that Delegate Sample Hughes.
Sure. Thank you, Delegate. So yeah, when I did some research speaking with the industry, their concern was that they didn't want to bring a lot of attention to the exemptions that they already have. And those were exemptions through the comptroller's office. It was a listing of those, and I sent those to both co-chairs. And so being we as a body hadn't figured out what we're going to do, I didn't want to just, let it go by the wayside. So Delegate Hornberger took the bill up. I certainly still, even from the beginning, think that it certainly has value, given the fact that we are in a season of everybody's talking about electric. And this actually may be the time to move the needle. But personally, my husband and I, we own farmland, but I don't want to hurt the industry. So I didn't know which way to go. And so Delegate Hornberger was comfortable enough to take up the subject. And so just trying to get a full test of what this body feels.
Yeah, and I think that's why we leaned towards the study.
Mm-hmm.
Could I just ask, so I have dual meters, and this is a subject very dear to my heart. I just paid $1,000 electric bill for one lousy grain bin. But I All right. So don't get me started. But how would I deduct that as a business expense, of course. So I guess if you just have one, are you just estimating what's your house and what's your business and
Yeah, this is very complicated matter because there's also, I'm assuming you all are single phase electric. There's limitations on how much you can move through, one service. For example, if you go over, you may need another service drop. And originally, when this bill came out, the comptroller's office came back and said, we don't know what the fiscal impact will be. So they had estimated, I think, a $400,000 fiscal impact. The power company said something different. So I think that's why the study, but Grayson had his hand up too. Maybe he's got some more input.
Yeah, I would just like to make some clarifications on that, and we appreciate you all bringing the bill forward, Delegate. And like I said before, we were never opposed to the bill. We just had a few concerns, but we'll certainly be at the table in support of this. And we appreciate it being a study because, as you said, the fiscal note was, I think, the main hindrance to the bill because the comptroller, for various reasons, just wasn't able to get an accurate fiscal note. They varied wildly, but actually, the main kind of crux of the issue is around 2010. The utility companies started putting chicken houses on the Eastern Shore on commercial meters, and therefore they couldn't get the sales and use tax exemption that you would normally get through a residential meter because of their use. So that's where it all stems from. Right now, we have about half our chicken houses on residential, the other half on commercial. But going forward, you'll see that ratio, increase more towards the commercial side. And so, our argument has been all other inputs for, electricity is the biggest cost for our chicken farmers. So, outside of, building the farm. So, all other input costs across the board are pretty much sales and use tax exempt. So that's why we wanted to move towards this exemption, if that helps.
Yep. So obviously a little biased here, but I'd like to move my own bill. Favorable.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Oh, you're on mute, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. Sorry
Sorry,
about that. So
Delegate
so all in favor, I'll say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So when we take these votes, if you're opposed, if you could turn off your mic and just say you're opposed. It's hard to toggle through everyone here. We have so many people on the call. So it looks like it's unanimous support for House Bill 1554. So House Bill 1429 is a right to repair bill. I think Delegate Hornberger, this is a bill that you bring. You've bought the last couple of years, I believe. So this is a consumer. Well, it's not really a consumer protection bill. It's more of a fairness bill, and also, and I'll just say a couple words going in. I live on a farm. I work very closely with my friends during the spring. During straw season, I help bale straw for those guys, and it's interesting that in the spring and the fall, there's a very high demand for maintenance. A lot of tractors break down, a lot of the equipment breaks down, and there's only, for John Deere, there's only one place you can go to get it fixed. It's Atlantic Tractor, and the challenge is that it's sort of, I guess, the same thing as, say a Volkswagen or Volvo or BMW, where you kind of have to take it to the dealer anymore to get work done to it. But there's a lot of people who know how to work on these tractors, but I guess it's the diagnostic issue. Is that correct? And a computer issue, Delegate Hornberger?
Yeah. So this is a wildly controversial bill. I just want to preface this conversation with that. When I first put the bill in some 6 years ago, I personally had John Deere in my office making overtures about my next election. The Farm Bureau was originally against the bill because all of these big providers said that they would work with Atlantic Tractor and get the diagnostic equipment and play ball. A year and a half later, they hadn't.
On the economic.
Somebody has their mic on.
Hutchinson, you need to mute yourself. Okay. And then a year later, after all of those promises fell through, Farm Bureau supported the bill on subsequent submittal. So, you know, I get that there's a lot of optics here. The bill also has an automotive component. So, maybe the caucus might want to pass because it does automotive and farm equipment. But this is a major issue. They don't have enough technicians and they don't have enough diagnostic equipment. And what happens is crops are languishing and becoming unable to harvest because folks can't get the technician out there to fix the equipment. So,
Tyler, did you want to weigh in on this one? This is like Delegate Hornberger said, this is relatively controversial. I guess it depends on who's in your office and talking to you, I suppose.
Yep.
Thank you, Delegate. So it unfortunately gets even more muddy and controversial on the Farm Bureau side now. 6 years ago, we were in a different position. Within roughly 3 years ago, the American Farm Bureau Federation negotiated MOUs with the large equipment manufacturers such as John Deere, Case IH, New Holland, and a couple of the big ones. Within that MOU, it requests that Farm Bureau does not pursue legislation as part of them working directly with the consumers, with the farmers to offer the technology to the farmers for them to be able to repair on their own. There's been some conversation back and forth. Because of that, we are kind of left to stay out of the bill because of that MOU, and we do not want to cause a loss of that MOU for the rest of the country.
So it sounds like maybe it hasn't been resolved to, I guess, our farmers' satisfaction, I guess, with this MOU. But it was some sort of movement and some sort of compromise. Is that what you guys had struck with that MOU?
Yeah, similar thing happened with the automotive industry.
Okay, I think Delegate Anderson, you have your hand up. And then Delegate Johnson as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big issue. It's a tremendous issue for the crop farmers on the shore because the farmers are only getting bigger and the equipment is becoming more complex and breaks down more times. It's breaking down because of the complexity of the electronics on the machinery, and we're sitting still a lot of time waiting on a technician, and they just don't have the manpower to do it. Now, I will tell you that I've been subpoenaed to be a federal witness in the Federal Trade Commission's filed suit against John Deere on this. And the Federal Trade Commission has subpoenaed me to be a witness in the federal case. So, and that's because I testified in front of you all about this repair bill. They picked up on that and then they subpoenaed me, but it's a big issue because they don't have the manpower. They don't have the manpower to cover their territory. Atlantic Tractor doesn't. And they've made some moves with the agreement they had with Farm Bureau, but it hadn't gotten us where we need to be.
Delegate Johnson, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Hey, Delegate Hornberger, I'm kind of remembering this bill. Did this bill come before ECM last year?
Yes, I put the bill in every year.
Yeah, and so I can't remember. Did it get out of committee or?
So the only right to repair bill that we've been successful with was Delegate Kaufman, and that was a right to repair wheelchairs.
Okay.
Because we had a lot of folks that owned their wheelchairs, battery powered, electric powered. They weren't able to service them. No one would offer them parts. They kept pushing consumers to buy new ones. This is a huge issue. We could spend days talking on this. It's incredibly divisive. And that's why I say you know, if we endorse this one, it's like playing with fire.
Well, well, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, if these tractor companies could keep up during the busy seasons, it wouldn't be an issue. I don't think anybody would have a problem with sending their equipment into a dealer. But the problem is when things get busy, they're and like Delegate Anderson said, they're literally stuck in the mud. I mean, they time is money. You know, you can't have these crops just sitting out there.
Yeah, well, it
You
goes a
know,
step farther in the fact that they're only giving the diagnostic equipment to certain industry players.
yeah.
So Kevin Hornberger can't go buy the diagnostic equipment. You know, it's only the big corporation like the Atlantic Tractors can. So I think Delegate Johnson had his hand up.
No,
Thank
you answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So,
The other
Oh.
Johnson.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you,
That's it.
Delegate Johnson. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I just wanted to ask a question. So since there's a lawsuit that's going on and Delegate Anderson's already been subpoenaed, do we want to get involved in this?
That's a good question.
He got subpoenaed just for talking to us about it. So
Yeah, you'll be getting some visitors if you move this bill.
that's
All
what
right.
I'm
So I would
thinking.
suggest Delegate, can you bring this bill back to us next year?
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Assuming that
appreciate
we're
the
all
indulgence.
back here next year.
Appreciate the indulgence of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, very good. So we'll move on. Did anyone else want to move that? Delegate Anderson, I know that this was a concern for you. Did you want to? I think that Delegate Johnson's correct. I do think we should probably hold off on this at least until that court case has been heard and resolved.
And who knows, Mr. Co-Chair, the lawsuit may resolve it for him. So
That's true.
we may not
That's
have
very
to
true.
address it next year.
That's true. Yep. All right, so moving on. HB 609. This is a Farm Bureau priority. Delegate Griffith, this will restore land preservation funding. And it's interesting how you've been doing this for a while, folks, that you were opposed to, or interest that you were opposed to for so long. This is one interest that we seem to be aligned with our local environmental community. And it was dedicated money. It's money that's in it's in a trust fund that's been used to balance our operating budget. So this might be a little bit tricky, I suppose, because it will create a challenge on the appropriations committee. So I have to find that money somewhere else, because I don't think that we're raising any revenues this year. Tyler, this is a priority for you guys, I believe. Is that correct? Or
Yes.
Lindsay? I think Lindsay too, I would imagine.
Yeah, this is a priority for Farm Bureau. The fund was, as you all know, was rated a little bit last year and lost some money within preservation, program open space, rural legacy, and other programs. It even trickled down into cover crop and other things of that nature. So it's a priority to us to get that funding back. There was language in up until last year that said if any money was moved out of that fund, that it had to be paid back. That language was removed last year, which allowed, I think, for more opportunity to go in and go after these funds to help balance the budget. But we have a nationally renowned land preservation program in the state. That's prime and productive soil. Once it's gone, we can't get it back, and preservation is certainly a top priority of the members of Maryland Farm Bureau.
Yeah, and this is a land rights issue. Once someone gives up their ability to subdivide in perpetuity, then this is basically they're being compensated for doing that. So and by doing that also too, it diminishes their property value because they don't have those development rights that go along with that. So is there any further discussion on this? Since this is a priority for, I believe, Farm Bureau, Delmarva Chicken, and the grain producers, that we should probably I would suggest we take a vote on that.
Yeah, I don't mind making a motion favorable.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second. Can you give me the bill number again?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. House Bill 609.
Thank you.
Are you looking up the fiscal note, Delegate?
Yeah, it's a $25 million transfer.
Yeah, I wish that hadn't been cut to begin with.
Right.
Man, that's gonna be. If I were the, well, I mean, I can certainly find $25 million very easily in the budget, but
Sure.
but for a committee to do it would be a challenge. Lindsay, I'm sorry, Lindsay has her hand up.
Yeah, just in further support, I know that the fiscal note is
You're breaking up, Lindsay.
Okay, sorry. Can you
Wait,
hear me
Lindsay,
now?
you must be in Roostburg or something. You're breaking up there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
I'm actually outside of
Oh, okay.
Annapolis, so not a Maryland problem. So generally the MALP program receives anywhere between like $30 and $55 million a year, primarily from the ag transfer tax. And last year, MALP got 6.6, right? And even at those higher levels, it is oversubscribed every year. They have more applications for land preservation than they can fund. And easements are, I think a lot of people don't understand, easements are one of the only vehicles that our next generation has to either keep their family's land or acquire land. And so I think this is a really important bill to pay back those funds that were rated last year.
Okay. And the committee can also amend that bill to adjust that dollar amount, up or down, or certainly the committee has that authority to do that. So Delegate Horner, you made a motion. I'll make, and Delegate Ziegler, I think you seconded that motion.
I did.
Are we all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, it doesn't sound like anyone's opposed, so unanimously we'll move House Bill 609. All right. So the next three are priority for Delmarva Chicken Association. House Bill 1395. It says equipment warranties. House Bill 958, natural gas payment plans, and then HB 674. It's a cost benefit analysis for the PSC. So let's start with 1395. Grayson, did you want to very quickly talk about that? We also are going to be running out of time here too, I think, or maybe we can wait until. Grayson, can we wait until Thursday? Because we're going to do this Thursdays and Tuesdays until we get through these bills.
I have a hard stop. I apologize.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that we were right at 9 o'clock right now. So can we? Yeah, let's do this. Let's postpone this. It's only a couple days till 10 o'clock on Thursday. And then hopefully by I think next week's meeting, we should be able to get through most of these bills. Delegate Ziegler, I think we're making pretty good progress now, and I know we'll add a few more probably to the list between now and then. But
9 o'clock on Thursday.
9 o'clock. I'm sorry. Yeah, session's at 10. We don't want to meet
Yes.
during
Right.
session. That might be a challenge.
Yeah.
So okay.
Great job, everybody. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All right, take care, folks.
Thank you.